understand dreams more and more, and I'm still working on it, but meaning as messages, as guideposts. I've had interactions, believe it or not, you don't have to believe me, according to your paradigm. That's the point of this talk right now, is about your own unique experience, your personal matter-of-fact experience with the spirit world. The reason why people say don't go into it, don't look for it, is because if you just go in, haphazardly with no fear or no respect, or you don't know what you're doing, you can get some nasty surprises. I have tangled with some demons, let me tell you, very real. Those of you who talk about or read about, or you've had your experiences, or you know people that did, with doppelgangers, for example, they're very real. That's something very interesting. Shadow people, they call them they also call it the old hag. You are sleeping and then you feel this oppressive weight on you and this great surge of fear, and you feel literally paralyzed. You want to wake up and you can't. Even if you wake up, sometimes you still feel the presence. Very, 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 very real. I tell you that, I swear that is very true. I have tangled with it and I beat it. A lot of people, when that happens, they say the name of Jesus, or they ask for the light of God to help them, and it does help. My entanglement, the first time it happened to me, around 21, 22 years old, whatever it was, scared me so bad I ran into the shower and lied down on the shower, having the water just fall on me, and I said, God, Lord, So experiencing it for myself proved to me that it is a real thing. Demons and angels are very, very real, and they have different aspects of both of them. There are some that appear more physical, more human, and some that are more in a different dimension, more of a spirit type, more of an astral type, some of a causal type. I have experienced also angels, if you want to call them that. Some of them very much could be human looking, and they came down from UFOs. That's also another thing we can talk about, ancient astronaut theory. The brotherhood, physically, of those who live in humanoid or whatever else type bodies that live for a long time. Our crappy little, part of my language, our lifetimes that are 70, 80 years old, 100 at best, and then we perish as a body. I'm not talking about those who live for a long time. But there's also the spiritual ones. It doesn't mean that all angels are coming from UFOs and they're physical. No, not true. And it doesn't mean, the other way around. It doesn't mean that it's all just spirit, because there's some of both. In the body or out of the body. Let's just put it that way. You're in the body or you're not in the body, and you can go in and out. I've had interactions with them on 2, maybe 3 occasions, because the third one I wasn't quite sure. But I'll give you one quick story on one of them. I was 21 or 22, I believe 22, maybe 21, and I was in a bar downtown Ottawa with my friend, and we were drinking. We were sharing a pitcher or 2 or 3, who knows what. And I was kind of being a clown, and I was bragging about my stupid things I did as a teenager, like quote-unquote illegally, running through a construction zone with my brother and going in the wooden, the buildings that are being constructed. We did some crazy stuff. We used to jump off the roof into a small pile of sand. My brother and I were nuts when we were teenagers. Like, not bad guys breaking things and hurting people, but I mean, like, we were just did some things that maybe I wouldn't recommend. But so anyway, I was talking to my friend about this story, this crazy antics I was up to with my young brother, who's 3 years younger than me. I love my brother very much. And it was nighttime. We were at, I'm not going to name names, we were at a certain pub on Bank Street in Ottawa, drinking and chatting. I had the impulse that someone was looking at me, and it was on a summer night, so that's when they take away the glass, and you're basically, you're inside the building, but there's nothing separating you from like the sidewalk. There's no glass, there's no wall, there's no door. It's like free air, right, for lack of a better term. And this tall, white man, perhaps in his mid-30s looking, blonde hair and blue eyes, short hair, t-shirt and jeans, very plain, inconspicuous looking. He looked at me with a kind of a sad face in his eyes, and no words at all passed between us. I just felt his message, and he was basically saying, "What are you doing, you fool? I feel so sad for you, I love you and I pity you. come on, you know better. And acting like this. And he said it all with a glance, and it took 5 seconds at best. He barely stopped. He stopped for 2 seconds or so, and then continued walking. Eye contact the whole time. Intuitively, knowingly, it very much was not a human. Why would a stranger stop, look at me like that, and keep going? It's hard to describe. He said words to me, and it's not quite subconscious, but it's certainly not quite conscious, if you want to say it that way. It was nothing heard, and I have heard the spirit of one of them talk to me in my head, and some people know what that's about. I'm not talking about schizophrenia and things like that, and that's a whole other topic we can talk about. But I'm talking about a real experience. And anyways, it happened more than once, maybe 3 times, and probably more times than I even know. Like the Bible says, men and women have entertained angels unaware. You could pass them in the street or have a quick interaction, you never even know. A lot of stories about people having interactions with the good and the bad. We know it's true. When you know. So that, guys, that's what I'm saying. My beautiful people, that's what I'm saying. Experience is a proof. You could say, I truthfully know that I experienced that. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about blind faith. So as for the demon side, yes, I slowly started to beat them. When they would attack me, I call them fear attacks. And they would promote this fear and this terror and this paralysis, right? And I got bold against them. I said, no, the light of God in me is stronger than you are. And I got to the point that I started fighting them in dreams and in non-dreams, in the in-between sleep and awake in different areas. And one of the last times, I raised my hand and I said, you will go as soon as I raise my hand. And I saw myself lying down in a robe in a room full of antique clocks and antique this and that, as if to show the Earth's progress of time with items. Here's a lock, for example, or a broken roll of tape. I think my son broke that, or maybe I did. But items that were, you know, visible pinpoints of a set time, of a set decade, of a set century. And I raised my hand, and it was a floating humanoid above me, a dark spirit, and it went away. I have also seen it with my waking eyes, in the awake time, not the dream time or the in-between sleep and awake time. But in my living room, took a quick meditation and or a quick snooze, opened my eyes, and as awake as I am now, as awake as you are now, a black silhouette, a shadow of a human, was in my living room on the wall. I looked at him and said, you know, or gestured, or maybe just thought it, and I said, be gone. And he literally flew out the window. A 5-foot-something, 6-foot tall, perfect silhouette shadow humanoid. Yes, it did very much happen. And I don't believe I've seen that again. That was probably the first time it was that evident like that. I've seen lots of shadows and things in the corner of my eye, even at this house here. A lot of entities looking at me. Sometimes when I'm getting shamanic, if I'm doing a certain music or getting in a certain trance, or doing a drum, I attract spirits, good and bad ones, and I give a speech in my mind, and sometimes out loud, and they will ebb and they will flow. Some will come, some will go. Very real. If you don't want to believe me, you don't have to. I'm talking about experience. Like Red Elk, the great shaman, I call him great, he is great. He's half Irish and half, oh, I forget what tribe. Forgive me very much, Red Elk. I've been looking at a lot of Native American movies and documentaries, etc., and I'm getting all the tribes all muddled up. So you have to forgive me. I believe this man lives in Washington State, perhaps? I think that, anyway, Red Elk. Check him out on YouTube, Google him or whatever. Beautiful, beautiful guy. And he's talking about that. Don't take my word for it. Go see it for yourself. And that is true. And I don't mean start going chasing, you know, haunted houses and things, and you know, because if you go into it with trepidation or unpreparedness and you're not ready, yeah, you might tangle with the dark side more, and that will scare you away from the whole thing. I'm saying link yourself with the light. Find your guardian angel, your guardian spirits, your friends, your best friends. They're there to help us. They're mostly invisible. They just work in a different vibration, different dimension. But right beside us, literally. Sometimes they touch me. I'm not lying to you. Taps and pokes. Sometimes I feel teardrops fall on me. And I have the right side and the left side. There's messages I get, but I'm not going to talk about that now. That's a personal power, and I'm not going to reveal that at this point. But that's a real power that I have. And I'm not the only one, because I've read other people talk about it. One particular one was in a fictional work. That's a whole other story for another time. So I'm talking about real experiences. You know, I like whatever name it is. I don't want to label myself as anything. I don't want to label you as anything. You know, I'm talking about shamanism and being a druid, being someone that understands the earth and karma and the spirits, the spirit world, God, the origins, multi-dimensional nature. Even the Star Brothers that have the UFOs that come down, and they've been here the whole time, helping us and guiding us and influencing things for the good and for the bad, for the purpose of karma. The Illuminati and the Dark Brotherhood and these kind of people, they, you know, Rockefeller and these kind of chaps that you've heard about, well, I love them. I wish them to wake up. I wait for them to wake up. They will one day. Right now, they're in a manifested form of hatred in a human body, like an old snake, like an old lizard. You know, they have this, the bull, the sacrificial bull, the goat of Mendez, the lizard entity with the horns. You want to hear a real wild story that is probably very true? Go check out some of David Icke. A lot of people have heard about him. Say what you want about him. I think he's great. He's got a pair of, you know, he's talking about exposing these bloodlines and who or why and how they get away with these things and who they work with. I'll say to you that God is very much in charge, but all of this is karma. These guys are allowed to get away with certain things on purpose. Just like it says in the Bible, if you want to quote the Bible, that God made Pharaoh's heart obstinate and hard. Remember the plagues? Even after many plagues came, the Pharaoh was still not letting the Jewish people go. That's just one story. I'm quoting the old Hebrew perspective and that history. There's other histories, but remember that. So it's the same thing. For karmic purposes, for the whole great... You see, God wrote the script of this earth. Our generation of souls living this. We also co-wrote it because we, by our own necessity, chose to have to take part. We needed to take part in this experience for our own growth. So let me tell you a secret that is very true, and I hope you believe this. Some of you have heard it before, some of you know it's true. It is true. Before you're born, you are in your astral form, you are a soul, you are yourself. And you are given, let's call it a sacred contract. That's the term used a lot. That's what when I had first heard it. And your whole life will be shown to you what more or less, what, shouldn't say it that way, what will happen to you, the script. And you will say, without a paper, without physically done, you'll say, yes, I'll accept it. And then you go to sleep, and then you wake up kicking and screaming and naked coming out of your mother's womb. And there you are. And then you have amnesia and you forgot the whole thing. To degrees. And that's the truth. So we are here, we accepted to be here. We have to be here. There's no getting around it. It's not like a very evil person can say, nah, I don't feel like being here, too bad. I'll get away with everything. I'll get away with all the murder I want in the cosmos. No, it doesn't work that way. Your contract is very limited. You will come here, and as the Hindus say, which I love the Bhagavad Gita and the old Hindu religion very much so, very dear to my heart. And the mystics and the philosophers through that school have said it very plainly. People are here to get all their desires out because they want it to be the Lord of material nature. Get all your desires out, and then you'll start waking up and saying, what am I really doing here? Why am I having a mortal experience? Living and getting sick and getting old and dying. Like the Buddha and like many people figured out. It's pretty obvious, it's right before our face, but how come we don't think or talk about it? I am going to die, and I have been born. And the truth of it is, you have lived and died many times. It's a long cycle. But I'm talking about, and that's just all pure logic, it's all pure common sense of the soul kind, God-linked truth. And the main thing is, how do you want to verify these things? I had a good friend from Afghanistan while I was attending adult high school because I had dropped out as a teenager.